Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, whenever the fuck you're listening. This is another episode of Tailgate Trash Talk, Season 2, Episode 9. I got my man, Mr. Gary Freeze, next to me. Gary, what's going on, bro?
I'm hyped after that video, man.
Right?
Another great weekend, though. A couple upsets, some big news to talk about with regards to shakeup in the top five. And then of course the new goalpost that had to go up.
Right?
Since one ended up in a river.
Tennessee fans came through. They got their goal of 150 some thousand, I think, to replace the.
How does that university not afford that?
It was, but it was pretty cool to see.
I know
the donations and everything that the different types of donations. It was for the number of years that last time Tennessee beat
15
Alabama.
years and 49 for the score and different shit. Hooker's number I think got donated a ton of times.
Yeah.
So
nope. Another great weekend, and I said it last week. I put it on our Facebook page. This was probably arguably going to be one of the best games in college football history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It
played out pretty
pretty
much like that. It was pretty awesome.
And but also, I think it would be hard pressed not to say that last week was probably one of the best weeks of college football in its entirety.
Yeah. Tremendous weekend. Really good matchups. We only had a dozen games or so to highlight last week because there were so many top 25 matchups. It was pretty awesome. Yeah. And a lot of them played out really well. We had a couple kind of assert themselves and really take charge, within their division or conference, right? So yeah, pretty great weekend of college football. You can't compare when every game means this much, right? And I know that we talk an awful lot about like there's the haves and the have-nots and the teams that matter and the ones that are also rans. I shouldn't say matter, that wasn't the right word, but there's the also rans and then the ones that have obviously the Power 5 schools with the playoff implications and stuff. But all these games mean so much. And then you think about a rivalry like Tennessee, Bama within the SEC, they hate each other. It's not necessarily been an uber competitive rivalry, but those two fan bases do go at it, right? In the sense of it being a rivalry, and for that game to play out the way it played out, so much excitement, so much emotion, and it has playoff implications, right? Because they were top 5 teams, right? Or I think top 6 actually. I think Tennessee was 6 going into the game, but still, right? Like that means something in the grand scheme of things. And then of course we have the opportunity. We might see that fucking game again.
Absolutely.
And then we might see it again, right?
Yeah.
I think those two teams really like put their stamp on the fact that they may be the best two college teams in college football. Of course, Georgia's going to have something to say about that. Of course, Ohio State's going to have something to say about that. But that was high-level college football with some exceptions. Alabama made some mistakes that aren't characteristic of Alabama, but that was the intensity of every week of college football mattering on full display for a national audience with College Game Day in the building.
Absolutely. And we'll get to a couple of the other games, and we'll talk about those here in just a minute. So I don't want to take away from those games or this game, but it just seems like the Tennessee, Alabama, and maybe it was because game day was there. Maybe it was because of the story that Tennessee hadn't beat Alabama in 15, 16 years. Maybe it was because the curse of Peyton Manning, whatever, the cigar smoke, all that, like everything kind of just aligned for that game alone last week. And so, but it was also a top 6 matchup as well. And so I think that we put more attention, we put more emphasis on that game as opposed to some of the others. And we're not taking anything away from the others because there was that 3:30 time slot on
it was
Saturday.
loaded, dude. I
It
couldn't
was
keep up.
loaded with
Ooh,
good games.
yes.
So definitely don't want to take away from those games, but that damn time slot, wow.
Yeah.
Like just
I know they make the schedules like before the season and stuff, but wow. Could you have been more just coincidentally lucky of games being scheduled in one time slot? I mean, you had 5 screens going at the same time with all these games going on. I was flipping back and forth. I had my phone, my laptop, my TV, trying to keep up with everything. Oh yeah, there was playoff baseball going on too, right? So not just the implications of college football. Like Saturday was a big day sports wise, but that time slot at 3:30 was unbelievable.
Yeah, and not gonna lie, I mean, we have the Rosenbagger podcast coming up tonight too.
Yeah.
So we have to watch baseball, but I'm not going to lie. Baseball took a back seat on Saturday.
Yeah. I was keeping up as best I could.
Yes.
There was so much good football going on, man. It was hard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hard to turn away.
Yeah. So with that being said, let's dive into last week's games, and let's just get down to it. So started off, Penn State, Michigan. I messed this one up. I picked Penn State. I'm glad I didn't do my parlay because I would have lost right off the bat here. But Penn State goes into Ann Arbor. They play them close for just a little bit, and then Michigan takes over and ends up winning 41-17. Is this the Michigan team that we're gonna see with Harbaugh and be undefeated going into the last weekend of the season against Ohio State? And
I think they will, right? I think if that's the criteria, yes. I still have question marks about quarterback for them. Okay. I love their running game. I love their defense. I love their ability to get after the passer. I love their ability to shut down other teams. But the big concern for me is, do they get enough out of their passing game? And early on in the season, we talked about them jumping back and forth from quarterback to quarterback. It seems they've settled and they're going to stay, here with Cade McNamara. But I worry about his ability to push the ball down the field as a passer. I know he's got the dual threat capability and he can move the chains with his feet. But when push comes to shove and they're playing Ohio State, because we've seen Ohio State put up a ton of points, move the ball up and down the field. They've got a really good defense. I just worry about Michigan's ability to play complementary offensive football, because I don't think that they're going to be able to run the ball the way they did against Penn State for 280 or whatever it was yards. Actually, I think they ended up like in the 300s because Corum ended up with another big run late. But I don't know they're going to be able to do that against Ohio State. So they're going to need some production through the air. I don't know that they've got it. So while I picked Michigan to roll in this, I laid the points this weekend, I don't see this. I don't see this style of football that they played against Penn State translating against Ohio State and them being able to knock off Ohio State like they did last year, because that Ohio State offense is fucking high flying. They've got like 6 probably NFL wide receivers on that fucking offense, man. And they're going to put points up. Michigan's going to have to score with them. I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with the running game.
Yeah. It's I said it last week, and we've kind of mentioned it in weeks prior, but is this the weekend where, the Fighting Franks get over that hump and start to, move forward? Or is this the week where, hey, Penn State's ranked, let's go ahead and just have a big game. Let's shit the bed. And then let's lose the next 3 of our next 5 games and, be out of the hunt.
Yeah, because like last year, that's what they did. They lost to Iowa, tight game, and then they went and dropped the game with Purdue, I think they lost to the following week. And that's what Penn State does, right? And under James Franklin. And I know last week you said not so fast, but it sort of looked like after about the first quarter and a half, Penn State started to really step on their own feet and struggled to keep up with Michigan State. I hate to say it because I have a soft spot for Penn State. I used to love watching Penn State. I grew up in Western New York. Penn State was on TV for us because New York's not a real big college football state. right? We've had a couple of flash in the pans with Syracuse, but that's really it. Penn State was on TV a lot. Joe Pond, linebacker LeVar Arrington was one of my favorite players. He ended up playing for Washington.
He played for Washington, yeah.
Yeah, right. He ended up playing for Washington, and that was, double dipping for me. But I just this is the script that Penn State has written year in and year out with James Franklin, and we saw it again on Saturday. And I'm with you. Are they going to go drop another game, or are they going to be able to recover from this? And I'd hate to see Penn State go from 5-0, ranked, what were they, 16 or 18 coming into this game, and then fall off the map. You know what I mean?
I think it's going to happen though.
I fear that it is.
Yeah. Yep. All right, moving on. Auburn, Ole Miss. Ole Miss, 48-34. Really, this was a tale of basically two halves, it seemed like.
Yes.
Ole Miss got out to a 21-0 lead. Auburn benches their starting quarterback.
For like 2 series. It's so weird.
Yeah, for 2 series. I think they turned the ball over with it, with the backup, and then they put him back in. And that's when things started to go in favor of Auburn, and they made this a lot closer game than it should have been.
I thought they were going to take the lead at one point.
Yeah. So give it up for Brian Harsin there and the Tigers. With all the speculation, and I think he sees the writing on the wall. Everyone wants him out there. They've tried to do it. They failed, and basically he's in a no-win situation here. But the guys are fighting for him.
Yeah.
The players on that team are fighting for him, and so that really shows you something. And kudos to the Tigers there for putting up a fight there in that game where that could have got real ugly very quickly.
Yep.
Kansas, Oklahoma, high scoring game here.
Yeah.
Oklahoma came out victorious as they needed to, but the big question still remains here. That Oklahoma Venable defense.
Oh my God!
I picked this game. I can't remember who you had here. I think
I had OU, but I had it closer. I ended up wagering this weekend on Kansas +9, and of course they lost by 10.
It happens, bro. It happens.
But I thought OU would win. I didn't think it was going to be a 94-point game. I thought it would be something like 38-35, somewhere in that area. But, 52-42, huh? That's what we're doing.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. Hey, if Oklahoma keeps giving up, I mean, they're going to have to score some points. So it's almost like you're looking at the rest of the games this season. Okay, what's the over-under here? Okay, 50? Let's go ahead and bet the over.
If it's less than 70, you got to be feeling good about the over.
Absolutely.
They just that defense, after 2 weeks, it just like flipped the switch and they just stopped. They stopped playing defense. And I don't know. I don't know if it's.
I know, right?
I don't know if it's Big 12 play and these offenses. I mean, I know Kansas's offense is pretty varied, and they give you a lot of different looks and combinations. But good Lord, like, make a fucking stop.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Iowa State, Texas. Texas comes out victorious, 24-21. A lot closer game here than I think both of us anticipated. Mm-hmm. And Iowa State had it.
They did.
Literally went through their hands.
Yeah, they should have won this game.
They should have. Mm-hmm. They didn't. Texas gets the victory there. And they're playing good football. Decent football. They are playing they got their quarterback back now.
I think that's the biggest story with Texas this year is without Ewers, they haven't looked very good. We talked about it with Bama's offense with Bryce Young. Mm-hmm. Same can be said about Texas with Ewers being back. They look a lot better on offense. They can move the ball down the field and put pressure on the defense at different levels. And Bijan Robinson he's probably a first-round NFL back, dude.
Yeah.
He's so good.
Yep, absolutely.
He's not going to get Heisman recognition because Texas kind of struggles and they don't really give him volume, but he's an NFL probably first-round back.
Yeah, good running back, good vision. can cut and everything.
Good
But
in pass protection too, which is unheard of at the college
unheard of
level.
yeah. But then also, you can throw him the ball out of the backfield as well too. So
Yep.
he almost reminds me of kind of a mixture of Saquon and Christian at the pro level. A kind of just a combination of both.
A little bit. I always kind of thought he reminded me of, remember when Zeke Elliott was at Ohio State too? A little bit of that.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's as shifty as like a Christian McCaffrey, but the pass catching ability for sure.
Pass catching, yes.
For sure. So I mean the Saquon comparison, he's small, he's powerful, he's a big time home run hitter for sure. I always thought Zeke was kind of the prototype when it came to a complete back at the college level. And I think Bijan's pretty close to that. Maybe not quite the powerful back that Zeke was, put your shoulders down, but more of the powerful, explosive guy like Saquon. So maybe the Saquon Christian is a little better comparison.
I don't know. Minnesota, Illinois. Wow. Man, we got boat raced on this one, didn't we, Gary?
Oh my God. Yeah, I'm not rowing that fucking boat no more.
Nope. Sorry. No. Can't do it. Brett
PJ,
Bielema
on your own, buddy.
Yeah. Brett Bielema and that Illinois defense.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
They're pretty stingy.
They're gonna make some noise in they already are in the Big Ten. They're in the top 25. Is it sustainable? Yeah, at Illinois, I'm not sure. Because it's hard to get football talent to Champaign because you're dealing with recruiting against Notre Dame and Ohio State and Michigan and all those Midwest schools. And then of course Iowa takes all the fucking corn-fed folks, and then you got Nebraska kind of poaching. You got Wisconsin poaching. It's hard to get football talent to Illinois, but they got something going there. They got a couple of transfer guys that came in. Bielema, I think, moves the needle for those transfer guys, so that helps. And they look fucking good. And I apologize because I said last week, Illinois ain't a top 25 team. Well, they went.
Give me both.
They went and put it to Minnesota, and they're a top 25 team. They belong.
Yep. Vandy, Georgia. Man, I actually thought it was going to be more than 55 here.
The way it started, especially.
Yeah. Really, this game needs no more talking about.
This was a get right game a little bit for Georgia's offense too. They'd been kind of flat for a couple of weeks, and 55 hanging 55 on a conference foe might be a little bit of a get right game.
Yeah, especially against a team that hasn't won a conference game in over 2 years.
Right.
All right, game of the day, game of the week, and probably the game of the year. Alabama, Tennessee, 52-49 Tennessee on a last-minute field goal that I still can't tell if it got blocked or if that's just his knuckle puck.
I think it got blocked. It looks like it changes trajectory, but you don't hear it. That's the thing. Normally you hear thud when they get blocked, and you can't hear it. It looks like it got blocked, but man, that thing was knuckling hard.
And it barely.
The spirit of Rocky Top barely carried it over the crossbar. Woo!
I would probably say one more yard. Further,
it was probably going to dip, dive, and hit that fucking crossbar.
It was not going over. One more yard. 3 big stories coming out of this for me. Okay. I'll start with the obvious. Hendon Hooker cemented himself in the Heisman talk. And we'll touch base on that later. Actually, I take this back. 4 things, okay? Second thing, Bryce Young. Without Bryce Young, Alabama is a mediocre team. Bryce Young carries that team on his back.
You have evidence in back-to-back weeks, right? They struggled mightily against A&M, really had a chance to lose that game because they couldn't get anything going on offense. And then they go and score 49 on a top 6 team, Tennessee, who's got a good defense. Like, don't sleep on Tennessee's ability to especially rush in the passer. They've got some playmakers in the secondary. Don't sleep on that defense. So Bryce Young goes and hangs 49 on them. That's night and day, right? That's night and day offense for Alabama. So there's all the evidence you need of Bryce Young's value to this team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The third thing for me is the undiscipline that Alabama is showing this year.
It's been multiple games this year.
The most penalized team in college football is Alabama.
Yeah. Imagine
that. Listen to that again. The most penalized team in college football this year is Alabama.
It's coached by Nick Saban.
The most penalized team in college football.
That is wild.
I like what Saban did this week and came out and said, us coaches, we need to make our players more accountable, and no starting job is safe. He put everyone on notice.
Yeah. It was funny to hear his NIL statement too, that players don't fear him, which I get it, right? And that's always been kind of the thing at college football level. And that's why a lot of college coaches struggle in the NFL, because those are pros.
Those are pros making
millions. You can't talk to them like you do college players. So
and
now these college players are kind of pros.
And I think that is where, I know obviously Saban has somewhat embraced it. But I think he was also fearful of it as well, because he knew he coached at the NFL level. He knew what this would do to the game at the collegiate level. And so you're starting to see that. So now it's a more, I guess, diverse dynamic. You have Bryce Young, who was making $1 million last year before he even took a damn snap. Okay. What about your offensive line, who may not be making, $25,000?
Yeah. What's even crazier about the Bryce Young thing is he was projected last year in the preseason. If you remember, he was projected to be the backup quarterback last year until he won the job in spring ball. And then, of course, went on to win the Heisman. But, he had $1 million deal in Tuscaloosa as possibly the backup quarterback. And the other quarterback got a big NIL deal too. I forget his name, but he ended up transferring. But they've got Milroe now behind Young. But the money's crazy. These guys are pros now.
Yeah, absolutely. The fourth thing, and I think this might be the biggest thing, and it goes back to the discipline. If you don't know already, you haven't seen it, don't know about it, after the game, wide receiver for Alabama, Jermaine Burton, walking off the field and hits not one, but 2 women in the back of the head as he's walking off. And one of the women, clear as day, sees him coming, and she steps aside to let him walk away. And he still hits her in the back of the head. Now, he did get booked for battery assault. If I'm Saban, which I'm not making millions. I haven't won natties.
He's got to go.
Thank you.
He's got to go.
You need to set an example out of him. And I know
have those optics.
You cannot have that. You were just talking about the undisciplined. No one's job is safe. That is uncalled for.
Yeah. You can't put your hands on women, man. Especially you don't put your hands on fans. Let's start there. You don't put your hands on fans. Devontae Adams, has apologized for what he did as a professional athlete, right? You don't put your hands on fans. Now, that wasn't a fan necessarily, but it was somebody who was working the game, who wasn't involved in the game, and he shoved him, and it's this whole thing and yada, yada. But these are fans that are on the field to celebrate with their team, and you basically went out of your way to assault a woman, right? But you went out of your way to assault a fan who wasn't in your way. You mentioned it. She stepped out of the way. He or she, it doesn't matter if it was a woman, stepped out of the way, and you went out of your way to go get her. You're seeking an assault at that point. And then on top of it, it's women, and it's multiple women. Like, I know that right now, probably what has to happen is he's suspended indefinitely pending results of the investigation, right? And he might even be removed from the school. The school might take action and say, you're no longer enrolled in Alabama, because they have the power to do that. Absolutely. Even with a pending investigation. There are some stipulations for scholar athletes that at Division I, and I know this applies to other divisions, but there are some stipulations that you can't pull a scholarship based on I think the language might be unfounded, but it's like it's unproven, until a ruling, essentially, right? So I think the moment he's found guilty and penalized and sentenced and whatnot is probably when Saban will be able to pull the trigger. But he can suspend him indefinitely. Scholarship can't be pulled.
Well, I think why can't
there's some legal language. There's some legal language in the clearinghouse. That's all I'm saying. Okay. There's some legal language in the clearinghouse. I think legally he won't be able to.
Does the NCAA have to do their own investigation?
I think it's part of it. Not that they have to do their own investigation. It's part of it is to let the legal process play out. I played with a guy who got a DUI, and he actually practiced with us, couldn't play in games because the coach wouldn't let him, was able to go to school. Then he was charged and processed, and then he lost his scholarship. I think there's some legality to it. I don't know 100%, but I think the right move, what we should see from Saban is this guy is suspended indefinitely, and the school can probably come over the top and say you're expelled, right? And that's handled there. And then his scholarship is pulled because he's no longer a scholar of the school.
Scholar, yeah.
As far as athletics go, just pulling his scholarship, there are some legalities there. I want to see exactly that though, right? Because this has to be handled properly, and the proper thing is to just bring the hammer down on this kid. There's video of it. There's no denying it. It happened. You can see it. It's bad optics for the school. And if Bama does nothing about it, that's even worse. I'm sure they're wargaming right now. They're trying to figure out what they can and can't do. It's time to make a move, though. We're midweek. Something has to come out, and this guy's got to go. Period.
Yeah. Agree. You have any more thoughts on this game? Sorry, I took up four points there.
No, you're good. And those are 4 great points. I like this is legitimately what we've been talking about all season with this Tennessee team. This offense is unreal. Josh Heupel's got them fucking humming. Hendon Hooker runs it with precision. Jalen Hyatt, welcome to the fucking big show, buddy. 5 tutties, 7 catches, like 210 yards. Welcome to the first round of the NFL draft, dude, because that dude has top end speed, but he is so elusive and he's hard to bring down. He was beating Alabama defenders, and Alabama, we know what they put on the field defensively. Saban had nothing for him. That dude is legit. Welcome to the first round of the NFL, bud.
Yep. Absolutely. All right, moving on here. This was one of the other games at the 3:30 time slot, and this is one that got overshadowed for sure.
Yes.
Oklahoma State, TCU, double overtime. TCU gets the victory, 43-40. We both have talked about it. Okie State's defense, non-existent this year, it seems like, especially after bringing back
all of their defensive front.
So many starters.
They got 7, I think, starters back on that defense. All 4 of their starters on the defensive front last year. I heard somebody last week, and I want to give credit. I think it might have been Herb Street. I can't remember who it was, but prior to this game, they said Oklahoma State doesn't get enough pressure up front to make up for the issues in the back end in the secondary, and we saw it on display. Duggan and TCU's offense were really exposing them on some deep crossers, some deep balls. The guys were getting lost in coverage. This was a shootout, and this was a great game. Obviously, double overtime. What a back and forth game. I wish I could have dedicated more time to this because, as you put it, it got overshadowed. I had this game and I was up and down on it, but Tennessee, Alabama took center stage, and this was a great game that I wish I could have dedicated more time to.
Yeah, and I had the game on as well, but I didn't have the volume on.
Yeah,
and so I'm kind of, I'm watching the Tennessee Alabama game. I got that game going on the smaller TV here, and I at one point in time I was actually kind of getting confused as far as what was actually happening, because I actually thought that the Alabama-Tennessee game was going into overtime. And I had just looked at the TCU Okie State game. But yeah, and this was one that if this was the big noon game or even the 7:30 game, I think would have got a lot more attention to it. But since it was at that 3:30 time slot with Alabama, Tennessee, it got some steam taken away from it, which it shouldn't, because it was a great game between two top 25 teams that went into double overtime. And be prepared to possibly see them both again later on down the road playing each other.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, these are clearly the two best teams in the Big 12. They're sort of head and shoulders, I think, above everybody. I think TCU right now, looking at their schedule ahead, they've got a legitimate chance at running the table now, and it's going to be hard if they're undefeated. It's going to be hard to keep them out of the playoffs. So they could be a team that sneaks in, and we've been talking a lot about a couple SEC teams, maybe possibly two Big 10 teams, a Big 12 team, a Pac-12 team. Don't sleep on the Big 12 right now, because TCU has already played a few of their tough games. I think Baylor is still on their schedule, so that's one that they're going to have to get past. They don't have a lot left on their schedule. I took a quick look at it earlier. They don't have a ton left on their schedule, so they could run the table, and we could be looking at an undefeated TCU team saying, hey, don't forget about me for the playoff.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, NC State, Syracuse here. NC State goes into the Dome, 24-9 Syracuse. The Orangemen come out victorious. Another top 25 matchup. Big news coming out of this. O'Leary, quarterback for NC State, done for the season with torn pec, all that. Syracuse, though, Babers and company, undefeated right now.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time since they've been this deep into the season, really being relevant nationally. You gotta go back to like the Donovan McNabb, Marvin Harrison era to really look at Syracuse football as being nationally prominent. They've had a couple of runs here and there, and an upset over Clemson here, and sneaking a win over a team there that gets them a little shine. But they've got a legitimate quarterback in Garrett Schrader. They've got an offense that could score points. They've got a defense that really, I thought last week that losing Leary and I thought that they were going to be okay offensively, NC State. They weren't, and a lot of that is because of Syracuse and what they were able to do defensively. And you mentioned it, right? Coming out of this game, one of the big storylines is definitely going to be the announcement that, Devin Leary is no longer going to play for NC State. And I think, if they'd have won this game, I think he may have possibly pushed to come back. Yeah. But I think that loss really seals the deal for them, that their aspirations for an ACC title, definitely their aspirations for a playoff, are out the window, and he's going to get ready for the draft.
Yeah, and I mentioned it in our group message that did that loss for push up that decision to go ahead and have the surgery and everything else. So
I think it did. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. James Madison goes to
Woo!
Georgia Southern, 38-45. Georgia Southern, and damn it, boy, did I call this game or what?
Yes, you did.
I
You
told
called
you.
it. Those flash in the pan top 25 teams. That's exactly how you put it.
Yes,
And they
sir.
get knocked off by Georgia State.
I think they were, what, 10, 12-point favorites?
12 and a half. They were
Yeah.
getting a dozy.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Almost a 20-point swing here, buddy.
Yeah, buddy. Woo!
Go Eagles. Go
Go
Eagles.
Eagles. What a game by Georgia State for sure. Jamie, you had all the momentum going into it too, and in Georgia or Georgia Southern, not Georgia State, but they knocked them off, man. Crazy.
Clemson travels to Florida State, gets the dub 34-28, and honestly a little bit closer than what you and I both anticipated here.
It got weirdly close late.
It did.
Clemson started running away and then said, we're going to take our foot off the gas.
Yeah. And when we were picking this game last week, we both obviously picked Clemson. But I think it was maybe, what, a
3.5.
3.5-point favorite?
Mm-hmm.
And we both laughed.
Yeah, I thought it would be a 12, 15-point win.
Yeah, absolutely. So Clemson stays undefeated. They have a big game this week, and we'll talk about that next. Real quick, give me your thoughts on DJ. As we're 6 games into the season now. He's got him undefeated. From where we started off with him at the beginning of the season to where we are now, what are your thoughts?
He's better, right? I have to give credit that he's better than he was to start the season. I still look at it like this Clemson team has national championship aspirations. I don't think DJ's a national championship quarterback. And I don't know that Clemson is good enough everywhere else to make up for not having a national championship quarterback. They don't have T. Higgins and DeAndre Hopkins and Tyler Boyd at wide receiver. They just don't have that anymore. On the outside, defensively, they're good, not great. I think they miss Venables to a certain extent, but they don't have the talent that we've seen from them with, the guys like Cleveland Farrell and on down the line with that massive front four that they can throw out there. They just don't. I don't think they have all that this year. So I'm still of the belief that if Clemson loses a game in a crucial situation later in the season, I think we're going to look at it and say, man, if DJ had played better, they'd have won this game. And I still think, and maybe it's the grand scheme, right? Dabo's looking at it like, Klubnik's our guy next year. Klubnik's our guy in the future. I just think that they've got a better quarterback sitting behind DJ right now. But I think he's playing better. He hasn't been as bad. I just don't think he's a national championship quarterback.
Took the words right out of my mouth, bro. I agree with you. Everything you said, I agree with you. He has gotten better, but he's not that championship caliber right now.
If they were better everywhere else, I don't know that I would be so worried about Clemson. But they don't have a running game that dominates. They don't have wide receivers that just get open all the time. Their defense isn't dominant. I think they're going to look at a game later in the season and say, God damn, if DJ had played better, we'd be undefeated still, or something along those lines.
No, I agree. Mississippi State, Kentucky. Mississippi State goes to Kentucky. Kentucky comes out victorious 27-17. I missed the nail on the head with this one.
Me too. I paid the price, man. The last 2 weeks, I picked against Mississippi State, and I'm like, God damn it, Mike Leach just fucking got these guys playing. The offense is humming. They're going to go into Lexington, and they're going to put up 40 points.
Yep. This game
I fucking jinxed them.
Turnovers and penalties.
It was
for Mississippi State here.
Mistakes.
That's what cost them.
Yep, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah,
100%. Can't turn the ball. The 4 times I think they turned the ball over, and
at least 3. I think you're right. I think it was 4.
You can't do that. You can't do that on the road against the top 25 team. And Kentucky's defense is opportunistic. and their offense plays pretty complementary football. They're pretty safe with the ball. Mississippi State didn't look like the Mississippi State of the last couple of weeks.
No. Last game, last game of the night. Last week,
what a fucking entertaining game this was too.
Utah. Utah comes out victorious, 43-42. I called this one.
Yes, you did. They won it on a 2-point conversion, too. How dramatic is that? Could have kicked the extra point, gone to overtime. They said, fuck it. Fuck it. Cam Rising wants to shove this shit up Lincoln Riley's ass, and he did.
I want to know the backstory. I don't know the backstory.
He's vague. He's vague, and he says, I didn't appreciate things that he did during my recruitment.
Yeah.
I don't know what the fuck that could mean, but he's holding a grudge. It's clear that he's holding a grudge.
Absolutely.
And it could mean a lot of different things. It could mean he guaranteed him some things, and then he brought Caleb Williams in or something. Maybe he promised him a starting job, brought Caleb Williams in. Or actually, I think he might have been the same class as Rattler. So maybe it was he promised him a starting job, brought Rattler in. It could be a number of things too. He could have big timed him or something. I don't know, man. But he clearly felt very slighted by Lincoln Riley and wanted to take it to him, and he did, man. He ran the 2-point conversion in that won the game.
Yep.
Back and forth
game here.
Wow.
And emotional game.
Oh yeah,
game, especially for Utah. They were honoring 2 late teammates that passed away last year. They had the helmet. They had their pictures painted on their helmets, one on each side. And this is what I love about college sports and college baseball. After the game, I cannot think of his name right now, so I do apologize. Tight end for Utah had a monstrous game.
Huge game.
Cameras pan over to him. He has tears of joy. 5 seconds later, cameras pan over to Caleb Williams. He's walking off the field, and he's got tears in his eyes.
Yeah.
And he just lost.
Of a different type.
Yeah. So so obviously emotions were running high on both sides. What a great game. Great atmosphere there. And you said it, man. Could have gone for the extra point for the tie, OT. They went for 2. I love it. I love when coaches say we're going for 2.
I trust my guys.
They have that in their game plan. Mm-hmm. Like they are already planning on going for 2. And you see it with some of your college coaches, but some of your NFL coaches as well. When, and you saw it in Monday night's game with the Chargers. They go for 2 a lot.
Yeah, they do.
It gives you a different, I think it puts a different mentality out there. Like, yeah, we're going to go for it. I think it just puts a little bit more confidence in your players. Now, you may not get it all the time, but I don't know. And there's certain times when, you should do it, you should not do it. The whole analytics and everything of that nature, whatever. I'm not going to dive into that, how I feel about that. Yeah. But I do like the fact that, instead of going for a tie and a possible loss, we're just going to do it right.
Control your destiny, Control your fate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. We're going for it. We're going to win it.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah.
All right. That was a little recap of a great
week 7
of week 7 college football. We're going to take a quick sponsor break here, and then we will get into week 8 preview, and then our little Heisman stock report. So this sponsor break is brought to you by PocketPairClub.com. Pocket Pair Club, club number 26881. All right, that sponsor break was brought to you by PocketParaClub.com. Pocket Para Club, club number 26881. For all of your gambling needs, please gamble responsibly. All right, Gary, we're back at it here. We got week 8 preview, top 25 matchups. Let's get into it here. Iowa, Ohio State, 29-point favorites. 29.
That's a big number.
If you're a betting man, you're betting on that. You're betting the points here.
That's a big number.
It's a big number.
Yeah, I mean, Ohio State is demonstrably better than Iowa. I don't think Iowa can score. I think really what this boils down to is if Ohio State gets 35 points, they probably cover. Because I don't think Iowa's going to score any points. So,
yeah.
I mean, Ohio State's going to win this game. I think I'm going to lay the points. I don't trust Iowa's offense at all.
No, not at all.
Give me Ohio State, and if I'm wagering, I'm going to lay the points.
Absolutely. I'm with you on this one, bud.
Yeah.
UT Martin, Tennessee. There is no point spread here. I think it's going to be a little bit closer ball game than everyone expects just because of the big victory.
Emotion.
Yeah. They're coming down off that emotional high. Now, obviously, UT Martin is no slouch here, but Tennessee obviously wins this game. But I think I think it's at least a 3 score. I don't think it's going to be any more than a 4 score.
Yeah, I mean, they've got another big game after this SEC game, so this could be a little bit of a letdown. The talent disparity, 4 scores is probably conservative. I would lay as many as, honestly, I'd lay as many as 34 and a half. So I'm going to go 5 scores. I'm going to say they're going to get, just accidentally, I think they could score 50 points against UT Martin. The funniest, the coolest part about this whole thing to me is the fact that it's UT Martin, and T Martin won a national championship for Tennessee.
Absolutely. Yep. Syracuse, Clemson. Start us off right here. Syracuse goes into Death Valley. Clemson, 13.5-point favorite here. Who you got, Gary?
I'm doing it.
Yes!
I'm doing it.
Yes!
I'm doing it. I know that I'm about to put the kibosh on Syracuse's season, so I apologize, Orange fans. I've got the hat on, so I'm with you. I'm going to feel the pain. I'm going to feel the misery. But I'm a believer. I'm a believer. I have to apologize the same way that I did to Illinois last week. I said Syracuse is not a top 25 team. They went and put up 24 against NC State's defense, which is better than Clemson's defense. I don't know that DJ's going to get it going. This game always feels like a letdown game. Syracuse always plays Clemson tough. Give me Garrett Schrader in the Syracuse offense scoring just enough. I got the upset here, man, and this is a big one, 13.5 points. I've got the upset, though. Give me Cuse money line here against Clemson. In Death Valley, too.
It is in Death Valley. I like your pick. I really do. I don't think you should apologize for it. I do like it.
I apologize for last week. I also apologize that I'm going to put the kibosh on them because that's just what I'm the kiss of death lately.
That's what we do here on these podcasts.
I did it to James Madison last week.
Yeah. Syracuse comes into Death Valley, a top 15 team. Syracuse comes out of Death Valley, a top 10 team.
Ooh,
I'm with you, buddy.
Yes, let's go. Let's go.
Cincy,
Beautiful.
SMU, Cincy, 3-point favorite. 3. What does Vegas know, Gary?
I think this says a lot about the Cincy offense. They've struggled at times. They've gotten hot, but it's exactly what you and I talked about before the season with Cincinnati, right? It's quarterback play. I don't think they've found their quarterback to replace Desmond Ridder. I don't think they have him on the roster. I'm taking Smoo. I'm taking Smoo in an upset at home. I am. I'm taking them in an upset at home. I don't trust. And I think Smoo can move the ball. They play with a fucking breakneck pace. I think they're going to be able to put up enough against.
Bro, what has gotten into you this week? Like
I don't know. I'm usually not the upset guy either. I'm usually not the big upset guy. Yeah, I know.
Did you get into my mind this week too? Because I'm picking SMU as well, buddy. Picking them.
Let's ride together. Let's go.
Ole Miss, LSU. Get the fuck
is this
out
number?
Here.
What the fuck is this number?
Out here. 1.5 points here. All right. I'm just going to say this right now. Lane Kiffin, go into Death Valley there and put it on him. Put it on Brian Kelly. Put it on him. You and your dog, whatever his name is, put it on him.
Ole Miss, 2 tutties.
Wow.
Yep. I can't believe that fucking line. Get out of here with it. That's way too much respect for Baton Rouge.
Absolutely.
It's a 3:30 game too. We already talked about that. That's a different place at 3:30 as opposed to 8:30.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ole Miss, couple tutties.
Like it. UCLA travels to Oregon. Oregon, 6-point favorites. Now, Gary, here's where you and your allegiance comes into play.
I feel personally attacked by that number.
With the fighting chips.
Yeah.
You staying with them?
Yes. UCLA, money line. I can't believe they're dogs in this game. I can't. I cannot. That Oregon offense cannot score. Cannot score with DTR. Can't do it. UCLA money line, buddy.
I'm going to disagree with you on this, and I'm going Oregon on this one, bud. Going Oregon.
That's fair.
Texas, Okie State. I can't.
Texas is 6.5. 6.5 point favorite, Texas.
That defense, though, for Okie State, we've talked about it.
Is fucking sketch as fuck.
Yeah, sketch. At Okie State, though.
Is this neutral site? I think it's neutral site, right? Oh, no, it is in Stillwater. This one's not neutral site.
I think this might be homecoming.
It might be. You might be right.
Give me Okie State.
I'm going to go the other way.
Yeah.
I'm going the other way. I got Texas in this. I think they're a different team with Ewers, and I don't trust Okie State's defense. I've held out. The game against TCU was it for me in terms of just watching. They're just really lost on the back end of that defense. To me, I think Ewers is going to have a big day here, and this could be in the high 30s. But give me Texas by a bucket.
Okay, all righty. Boston College travels to Wake Forest. Wake Forest 20.5 point favorites here. I think that's a small number.
Yeah, Lamb and cash that check.
Yep.
Honestly, 20.5 that's not nearly enough in Wake. If this was in Boston, I could understand.
Sure.
Not in Wake. Not in Wake. Unless the weather gets real shitty between now and Saturday. Wake by 30.
Yeah.
Wake by 30.
Memphis travels to Tulane, who is ranked for the first time in a long time.
Yeah, it's been, I think, since the Patrick Ramsey days.
Yeah. Tulane, 7 tutty
Another
favorite.
goddamn Washington connection.
Who you got in this one, Gary?
I feel like this is going to be a stove special, bud.
Yeah, it's the same
I
thing.
I
Same thing
think
as
it's
last
going
week.
to be, man. And
Yeah.
I like Memphis. I like what Memphis can do. I think they've had some tough breaks. I've watched a couple of their games, one loss where they really, it seemed like every bounce went against them. I'm going Memphis over Tulane money line here. I'm going straight Memphis.
Absolutely. I'm
This
with you on
feels
this
like
one.
this feels like you're flashing the pan rule, dude.
Yeah, it
I've
is.
got to get on board after last week. I
You need
jinxed JMU. I can't go against the stove special this week.
You won't be disappointed. I promise you
I
that.
love it. I love it.
All right. Mississippi State travels to Tuscaloosa. Alabama, 21-point favorites here. 7:00 game.
I feel bad for our boy Mike Leach having to play Bama after that. He even said it in his interview too. Like, stop scheduling us after losses for Alabama.
Did he really? I did not hear
He
that.
did.
That's awesome. Mike Leach knows
said it.
what's up.
Oh, he said it earlier. Was it earlier this week or in the post game after his game? He was talking about having to bounce back, and then he said, "But you guys keep scheduling us for after losses for Alabama. Got it. You guys got to stop doing that." I feel bad for him. 21's not enough. I think Saban's gonna sacrifice a couple of walk-ons here, get the defense playing better. Bryce Young, I think, is gonna have his way with that Mississippi State defense. I hate that we're probably gonna watch a blowout for Mike Leach.
I'm going opposite here.
Oh man.
Now I'm not going to pick Mississippi State.
Mm-hmm.
I
close.
I think it's going to be a closer game.
Okay.
If you look at a few other games this year with Alabama, Texas, I think they were 21, maybe 24-point favorites in that.
Yeah,
game.
it was right about there. Yeah,
that was a one possession game.
Yeah.
Then A&M, they were 24-point favorites, one possession game. Alabama has not proven themselves to me this year with these.
So let me ask you, because I think you're alluding to it right now. You don't trust Bama like you used to then?
No, absolutely not.
Okay.
No. Now, am I still going to pick them? Yes.
But not in a blowout.
Not in a blowout anymore. No. They're too undisciplined. Now, they are at home.
That's a good
point. They shouldn't have too many false start
issues.
Yeah. Yes. It is a night game. So everyone's going to be rocking.
Oh yeah.
Night game.
They're going to be sauced up from the
yeah. Everyone's going to be sauced up. It's so it could get to be that 21-point game like they say. I'm not buying it with these better teams this year with Alabama. I'm not. So
no,
I'll take it.
You have to respect that because they've kind of proven it. Like you mentioned, the A&M game, the Texas game, even the Tennessee game, you can say they were completely undisciplined at times in that game. Yeah. And they lost by a field goal. You have to think that some of those undisciplined moments may have cost them that game.
Absolutely. Now, so I'll take Bama here, but I'm not going to take the points.
Yeah. Okay.
Give me Mississippi State and the points on that one.
All right.
But Minnesota, Penn State. Fuck, Gary, we just talked about this.
I know. I'm out on rowing the boat, but this feels like a game that the Fighting Franklins drop, right?
So, okay. So, Gary, 7:30 game in college in
College Station or State College.
Yeah. 4.5-point favorite, whiteout.
It is the whiteout. And I think that's going to be the X factor. And I think Penn State's going to roll in this. I think they bounce back against a Minnesota team that's fallen off the map. Give me Penn State in a little bit of a route, maybe only by 2 tutties, but I think they're going to cover here. I think the whiteout, the juice of that is going to be enough to get them on. I could tell by your face you don't agree with me, though.
No, I'm like, I want to go with you on this one.
I know. But this is the one they drop, right? Like, this is the history.
I'm not. I can't do it. History is going to repeat itself. Minnesota goes in there. They come out victorious. and we see the downfall of Penn State again.
I hate that.
I don't like picking.
I hate you're probably right.
I don't. If it was against some other school, I'd pick Penn State.
Not PJ Fleck and his boat rowers. The boat's on dry land.
Yeah. I'm going Minnesota with this one. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Kansas State, TCU at TCU. TCU 3.5-point favorite. Night game. Let me throw a stat out here before you make your pick. Kansas State, the only football team that has not thrown an interception all year. Adrian Martinez is their quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Martinez had 30 interceptions in his 4 years as a starting quarterback for Nebraska.
Yeah.
Who you taking?
This number is sweaty as fuck. Vegas, I think, nailed this one. I've got TCU by a field goal. So I'm going to take TCU to win the game, but I'm going to tell you degenerates out there, take the 3.5 with K-State, and you'll be sweating your fucking dick off at the end of the game. But it's going to hit.
What's going to hit? The points or the dick?
Points.
Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, the dick might after you win.
Oh, shit. I'm going TCU. I'm going 2 scores.
Comfortable. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So that is it for this week's top 20. We got some good matchups. We got some top 25 matchups. Another I think we got 5 games with both teams in the top 25 here. So another good week of college football here. Not as exciting as last week, but still another good week of college football. And there's going to be some upsets. We're going to hit on our upsets. So if you want to keep on betting, keep on betting. If you want to throw some money our way, we'll gladly take it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, we won't turn it away.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. All right, Gary, we got 25 minutes left in this episode. Let's get down to it here, and let's start talking a little Heisman Stock Report here. Number 5 for you, Gary. Doesn't change.
No, listen, I'm in. This is new territory for Syracuse, having somebody who's getting a little bit of Heisman shine. I'm giving him more than the national media, but of course I said last week, homer pick. Not since the Donovan McNabb era really have the Syracuse Orange had such a prominent player on the national landscape, but they're ranked in the top 15, and you said it. If they knock Clemson off this week, this is a top 10 Syracuse football team, not basketball, folks. Football team. So for me, I mean, Schrader, his season's been spectacular. He's leading that offense to heights that haven't been seen in quite a while. He's not putting up huge touchdown numbers. He's only got a dozen, but he's got 5 on the ground entering last week. I think he had one more against NC State. So he might have a half dozen on the ground, but I just think that I have to give some shine to him. Hometown guy, they're undefeated. I don't know that he's going to get any real consideration with votes in the grand scheme of things, but he's got them playing some really, really good offensive football right now. And Clemson better not sleep on this Syracuse team.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I picked Syracuse to win. So did you. So yeah, no, I mean, second week in the Heisman Stock Report here, so good for Garrett here. I got Drake May again. I had a 5A, 5B last week, but I just straight 5 this week. He stays up there. He's number 2 in the country in QBR.
Yeah.
And right behind who? Bryce Young.
That's good company to keep.
Good company to keep. Absolutely. This kid's only a freshman too.
Uh-huh.
Only a freshman.
Uh-huh.
Would have liked to seen a little bit better play out of North Carolina last week as a whole against Duke. UNC is down this year, but they only have one loss.
Yeah.
That was to Notre Dame.
Yep.
So Drake May getting the job done for the Tar Heels there. So see what he can keep on doing the rest of the season and see if he stays in our Heisman Stock Report. All right, moving on. Number 4, you got a guy that was here.
He was.
And then wasn't. And now,
And
he's
now
back.
he's back.
Blake
What a game. What a game he had against Penn State. I think he kind of put his stamp on the season against Penn State. He's got another opportunity against Ohio State later in the year. You know, if he can really carry Michigan to a win there, I think he's going to creep up into the top 2-3 here. Usually a quarterback award, but got to give some love to a running back when he earns it. And Blake Corum fucking earned it last week against Penn State.
No, sure. It just makes me wonder where one other person is, if you're ever going to give him some love, but I won't mention any names. I think you know who I'm talking about. At number 4, I got Caleb Williams here. Caleb Williams stays in the same spot that he was in last week for me. Still had a good game last week against Utah, but did get the L. And as we all know, this business is about them W's and those stats. Unfortunately for Caleb, he's got an L now. If he gets one more L on the season, you can kiss that Heisman campaign goodbye.
Yeah, I agree on that.
Yeah. Number 3 does not change for you.
Nope.
Little DTR again. Stays right there. They had the week off, correct?
Yeah, they had a bye week. You know, I debated possibly flip-flopping him and Corum because of the statement that Corum made and leaving the door open for DTR. He's going to have an opportunity with a statement game with Oregon. I just kind of thought, yeah, hey, I'll throw Corum in at 3, give him some love. But no, DTR. Yeah. DTR.
It's really interesting to hear you talk about, you know, DTR, Blake Corum coming back into the mix of things. Statement win, you know, against, you know, Penn State and everything. And here we were last week talking about my number 3, who, you know, didn't play last week, and you were giving him all this love and all this credit as far as, you know, he's the most valuable player on that team, and his stock rose last week for the Heisman because of how they played against A&M and everything like that. And then he has a big game against Tennessee. And you would kind of think that it would be a statement game for Bryce Young against the Volunteers and that defense, and basically putting that team on his back in what he did. And still no love from you. But hey, don't worry.
Stove's got you, Bryce.
I got you, Bryce. I got you.
Look, he is all those things you just said, honestly, and we talked about it last week, right? If there was a most valuable player, because the Heisman Trophy is the best player in college football over the course of the season. If there was an MVP, I think Bryce Young won it the previous week in the A&M game with how bad that Bama offense looked. For me, I had to squeeze, and Bryce is number 6. I'll be honest, Bryce number 6. I had to squeeze because I gotta give the love to my Syracuse Orange. I gotta keep Garrett Schrader in there this week because they knocked off NC State when I thought they were gonna lose. I had to keep him in there, and I had to show how much I appreciate what Blake Corum did against Penn State. You know, that huge game that he had. I know it's not fair to Bryce, but I had to squeeze, man.
It's all right. I'll give him some love, and we'll see. You know,
I'm like a batter's umpire in the major leagues. I had to squeeze you.
All right. Going from number 3, number 2, we are unanimous here. at number 2 with good old CJ Stroud. CJ Stroud just having a phenomenal year with the Buckeyes, the numbers that he is putting up. His receivers are having video-like games, and he's spreading the wealth.
Yep.
He is spreading the wealth.
Yeah, they've got so much talent at wide receiver. It's unbelievable. And they've got a couple of really good running backs. But you look at what they've got at wide receiver. I said it earlier, kind of in passing, but I think they honestly, right now, this roster has 6 NFL wide receivers on it. And he is, like you said, spreading the ball around to all of them. It's pretty unreal what he has at his disposal there, and he is putting up the numbers that would reflect how much fucking just unbelievable talent they have on that offense.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, without further ado, the number 1 Heisman Stock Report should be of no surprise to anyone. Was number 2 for me last week, was number 3 for Gary last week.
It was.
Ladies and gentlemen, number 1 for Tailgate Trash Talk Heisman Stock Report right now, Mr. Hendon Touchdown Machine Hooker.
The machine. Yeah, that's a statement game. We talked about it a lot last year about who was going to have their statement game. And Ritter did against Notre Dame, and then we talked about how he faded. I don't think that Hooker's going to suffer the same fate of fading, because Cincinnati was in win every game mode because they had a shot at the playoff. Tennessee, the offense really runs through Hendon Hooker, much more so than Cincinnati's offense last year ran through Desmond Ritter, despite how productive he was and how great he was. This offense really runs through Hendon Hooker, and his ability to read the field, stand in the pocket, make those plays, use his feet when he has to. He made a couple of huge runs on 2nd and 3rd down last week against Bama to convert for first downs. His ability to make that offense go is really what makes Tennessee so dangerous. He's a big guy with a big arm. He's very accurate, and he's got some good feet. Him and Josh Heupel are just like brain synced. It's crazy how much they just like – it's like, he's just an extension of Heupel on the field. And that game, that was a statement game for Hendon Hooker against Alabama. So for me, it like you put it, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah. Very good statement game here for Hendon. He cemented himself in the Heisman candidacy for this year, and possibly has surpassed CJ Stroud in some of the voters' eyes. He has in my eyes. Obviously your eyes as well.
Yep.
And that's all that matters to us. So, but I think he also kind of cemented himself into being a first-round draft pick as well. Now, with that being said, he is older than a lot of your other quarterbacks, because I think he is a fifth-year guy. So he's 24 right now.
Yeah.
So that may play a part into where some teams draft him. Does a year or two make a difference? In some NFL people's eyes, it does. But it could also mean a little bit more maturity level as well, too, to where you're not having to sit him behind someone for a year or two. He could be one of these guys that steps into the program and starts for you right away from day one, and maybe not have those growing pains like you see with some of the rookie quarterbacks for that first year.
Yeah, for sure. And there's some NFL news. Deshaun Jackson with the Ravens. That's a big get for them. Kind of a home run hitter. We're not talking about Brandon Wheaton, right? It's the difference between 29 and 24, right? He's mature for a college football player, but I also think that can play well at the NFL level. You don't have as much polish you need to put on him as you do these 21-year-olds that are coming out as underclassmen. So I'm with you. I think that NFL teams could see it one of two ways, and I think NFL teams are going to see it one of two ways. Me as an NFL GM, I look at Hendon Hooker and I look at his poise in the pocket, his arm strength, and his accuracy, and I say I can win with that if I put guys around him that are able to run routes, catch passes, put an offensive line in front of him that allows him to be that guy in the pocket. But you also got to consider this is a very strong quarterback class, right?
Yeah.
We're talking Leary, Levis, much better than last year, deeper, much deeper than last year. We're talking Levis and Leary and Stroud, and Bryce Young most likely is going to come out as an underclassman, and then you got Hooker, and there's several guys that I didn't even mention there, and I mentioned 5 right there, and there's this quarterback class honestly probably goes 10 deep of guys that many people think could start at the NFL level, and probably 4 to 5 deep of guys they think will excel at the NFL level. So this is a very strong quarterback class. If he doesn't go in the top 10, it might even be better for him that he goes later because he goes to a better team.
Absolutely. All right. That does it for the Heisman Stock Report. Gary, as we enter week 8 of college football, what are your thoughts so far, bud, before we close out this episode?
Dude, we are hitting our stride. This past week really put the stamp on we're in mid-season form. The playoffs are starting to come into focus, right? We're getting close enough to where we're going to actually start talking playoffs here. Obviously the first playoff rankings are coming out very soon, and we'll talk playoff rankings on the show very soon. Heisman talk is going on. We're really in mid-season form right now, and these matchups that we're getting, these top 10, top 15, top 25 matchups, they're going to make a difference in the long run. I talked about it earlier, and we went back and forth a little bit. These games matter every week. You can't take a week off, whether you're playing a top 5 team or not. You can't take a week off in college football. So every week, now more so because we're in the heart of conference play, there's no more cupcakes, right? I mean, there's going to be the sporadic cupcake here and there, but
Martin.
Right. This isn't the first 3 weeks of the season where everybody's playing cupcakes. This is when the games really get tense and we're getting tight, and everything is amplified because we're so much closer to the ultimate prize, right?
Yep.
The college football playoff.
Yeah. And you said it. We're mid-season. I look at it as moving week. And from here on out, it's moving week. You're either moving up or you're moving down.
Yep.
And so you control your own destiny. So yeah, man, great week last week. Got another great week this week. I'm excited for another weekend of college football. Some top 25 matchups, 5 top 25 matchups, between each other. So yeah, man. I mean, it's time to put up, shut up, shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
Start cementing yourself on who you want to be, where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, man, ready to go. Let's rock and roll this week. And it starts again on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
All right. That does it for another episode of Tailgate Trash Talk. This was season 2, episode 9. I'm the Big Stove, my man Gary. For Tailgate Trash Talk, we are out.